I'm MaryAnn Washington. We're here at Playhouse on the Square, where March the 14th through March the 30th, the Diary of Anne Frank will take the stage. Joining me today is the director of the show, Miss Irene Crist. I'm so excited to have her. Hello, Miss Irene.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Thank you for sitting here with me and getting through this introduction. I'm kind of nervous here being with you.
Well, you started.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm real busy, and I'm very excited about next year. Our new season has been announced, and there's just so much going on. It's very exciting.
And you know what? We're just so excited to have you here. And I just want to tell you a brief story. When we was deciding which show we wanted to spotlight for March, I told my producer, I said, I'm going to do a little research. And so I did a little research, and your name kept popping up everywhere. And so I told my producer, Miss Sherry Walker, I said, you know, I really would like to interview Miss Irene. And Miss Sherry, she's such a sweet lady. She was like, well, all you have to do is just ask her and see what she said. And so I asked you, and you're here, and so I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Anytime I can talk about theater, it's a great day.
It is, and let's talk about theater, because we're here in Midtown at Playhouse on the Square, and right behind us is Overton Square Theater District. What is your thoughts on that?
It's so exciting. When I heard Hattie Lou was coming to the Square to join our family, it was tremendously exciting. It's this little theater district in a town that you don't expect to have a theater district, and it's very well supported. And I remember sitting outside Circuit Theater, which is just across the street, as you know, and the theaters were letting out, and this was before Hattie Lou. The theaters were letting out, and there was a buzz and sort of a big city excitement. You know, it was a lovely feeling, and of course we've got Theater Works just a block away, and now to have Hattie Lou on the other corner, it's going to be a wonderful thing.
It is going to be a wonderful thing, and just like you said, that small city, that big city experience, and it's such in the small city like Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, who would ever imagine that we would have a theater district?
Yeah, when I moved here 35 years ago, I was shocked. And I started working at Playhouse, but I also was going to Theater Memphis and was shocked at the level. My concept of community theater was very different from what I see as community theater in Memphis, because the quality is so high, and you just don't. Where I come from, you put the name community theater on something, and it's kind of, you know, there isn't an expectation that the level of artistry is going to be there. And yet in Memphis, there it is, and I think it's just a wonderful thing that we have such high standards.
You know, and I feel the same way. We have so much talent here. I mean, you would be amazed. I sit and I watch all of these wonderful people take the stage and do what they love so much and acting, and I'm like so amazed of the quality of talent that we have.
It really is.
Starting with yourself, Miss Irene. I mean, when I did the little research that I did on you, I found out so much that you've been contributing to the theater district and your career here. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, tell me, we're doing the Diary of Anne Frank, and you just left the stage with Other Desert Cities. What was that like?
Well, Other Desert Cities, it was a very enjoyable experience for me, because one of my friends from Theater Memphis, Jerry Chipman, played opposite me, and we hadn't done that in about 30 years.
Oh my goodness.
So he's a dear friend, and we were so excited to be working together. And of course, Dave Landis and Kim Justice, and it was just a lovely time. And so that was a bit of a reunion. Although I have to say that I'm really happy to be back in the director's chair.
Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to stay on acting for a minute. You mentioned that you're from Maryland.
Right.
And so how did you get started in theater?
I was 11 years old, and I was the only person on the playground who wanted to do a play. And this woman this woman who was a war bride, she was from London. She also happened to be a graduate of the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. And her teachers were people like John Gielgud and Redgrave. So she had some wonderful, amazing teachers, and she decided very quickly that she wanted to take me in for private lessons. And so that was when I was 11. She is still my favorite person in the world, Jane Allen, and we communicate to this day. And she became my mentor, my teacher, my director. She was everything, and she taught me more than I could even begin to tell you.
So how did you end here in Memphis?
My husband at the time was offered a position at the university.
Okay.
And I was going to be, we had both been in the theater company at Roundhouse Theater, and in Maryland, and I had decided that I was going to take a back seat, and I was going to be they called them university wives at the time.
Oh, yeah.
There were no men. There were very few women in the university who were professors, and so I joined the University Wives Club.
Okay.
And I was going to learn how to do tatting and things like that.
Oh, wow.
But in about 2 weeks, I got a phone call from Playhouse on the Square. I never did make a tatting meeting.
Okay.
I think I joined the book club. I don't think I made a meeting of that either. Because 2 weeks later, I got a call from Playhouse on the Square, which was at that time right on the square.
Right.
And they wanted me to read for Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. Well, it happened to be one of my favorite roles, and I hadn't done it yet. And so they hired me. And then about 2 weeks after that, Jackie Nichols asked me to be in the resident company, and so I did that for several years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was a wonderful experience. It was rough and tumble, about like Hattie Lou was, but in this new wonderful building, and you know, you make ends meet the way you make ends meet.
Yes, ma'am.
And I remember Jackie washing the plastic cups at the bar at Playhouse on the Square to save the plastic cups because we just didn't have a lot of money. So I did that for several years, and then ended up having to earn a living for myself and my child. So I ended up in marketing and promotions, and that was a wonderful experience too. I worked for the city and for Mud Island when they opened, and it was a lot of fun. And then the commercial appeal.
Well, we do things like that when we're trying to do this is our main passion. So the other jobs, I hate to say, are kind of to pay the bills.
So right. So then. And all during that time, Jerry Chipman, whom I mentioned before, kept pulling me back with parts that I couldn't refuse. And so he directed me for about 12 years. He was the only person who ever directed me.
Name some of the plays that you've done over those periods.
Oh, gosh.
You had the opportunity to play a lot of characters.
Yeah, I was in California Suite, Spitfire Grill. I was in Burn This. I was in Little Foxes. I was in The Real Thing. I was in a lot of different kinds of shows, and I was in what is the show they recently did again at Theater Memphis, Liaison Dangereuse, and that was a lot of fun. So there were just I was able to every couple of years, but you have to understand I've been doing this professionally since I was about 11 or 12, so I didn't know what a weekend was. and so for a long time I really enjoyed my weekends and leaving my job behind at 5 o'clock and raising my family. So it was a different world for me for a while, but I tell you, I got to 9/11.
Yes.
And I realized that, we just don't have that much time.
Yeah.
And I had just had a very successful run of Lion in Winter at Theater Memphis. And I just decided that it was time for me to go back to being my authentic self and going back to the theater. So I talked to Jackie and auditioned and became a part of the resident company again.
I like that what you said, be a part of my authentic self, because that's the type of transition that happened in my life. I've decided, this is who I am. I'm just going to have to accept it, who I am. But let me ask you something. Is it fun? Is it still fun for you?
Oh, sure. Now, I have to be honest and say there are days that it's work. Because it's not, there is always, when you're working, the potential for an aha moment,
Yes,
and so you still strive for that, even if it just feels like work right now. In a minute from now, you could have one of those moments that we live for.
Right.
And so you keep at it. The wonderful thing and the frustrating thing for some people about theater is that it's very ephemeral. You do what you do, and then it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
And you can never reach perfection.
You can't get that moment back.
And the odd thing about actors, and I think any artist, is you strive for perfection, even though you know it'll never happen.
Why you say that, Miss Irene?
Because nothing is perfect.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Nothing earthly is perfect. It's you have perfect moments, but you don't have a perfect night of theater. There's always, but you still strive for it,
Yes.
You always, it's out there, and you just get as close as you can to it.
That is something that I can take with me. You never have a perfect moment that you just keep striving for.
Yeah.
And
I think that's that way with all artists. I don't know anyone who feels like, okay, that was absolute perfection. They always feel like, if I had just done this,
something. And you have nightmares too. You dream about it. You say, remember, I should have did it this way, or maybe I should have done something different. Right. Yeah.
And even if and I'm not saying I'm not proud of things that I've done, but even as proud as I am of things that I've done, I know I could have done them better. And that's what keeps you going.
Yeah,
that's why you keep doing it.
And you still feel like this way, even all that. If you reflect back on those times that some of the shows you did, you still think, hey, there's something I should have done better.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I never feel completely satisfied, and maybe that's why I still have an appetite.
Yourself, Miss Irene, but the city of Memphis says that you are so much close to that because of all the wonderful shows that you did and the performances that you have put out, memorial performances that you have put out. And I'm talking about those Oscar nominations that you have up under your belt. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. We're going to take a little intermission. We'll be right back. We'll talk to Miss Irene about her nominations, her win, her feel on that, and some more stuff. We're going to talk about Anne Frank in just a moment. So we'll be right back.
If you've liked what you've seen here today, please consider being a sponsor. Send email to sponsor@blackbutterflymedia.net. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget, like us on Facebook.
Okay, we are back here at Playhouse on the Square, and I'm just having a good time with Miss Irene Crist. Once again, thank you so much for being on the show.
I love it.
Now let's talk about The Diary of Anne Frank. Tell us about that show.
Well, it's based on a real, in fact, all of the characters in this play are historical characters. They're real characters.
Okay.
They're real people who were in hiding in Holland during the war, during the Nazi occupation.
Okay.
And they hid in this warehouse-like area for 2.5 years before the Nazis found them. Someone turned them in, because at that time, if you knew Jew was in hiding, the Nazis would pay you about a week's salary, average salary at the time, for each Jew that you told on. So it's a different thing when you do a play. And I'm sure you know this. When you do a play about a real person,
yes,
you have an obligation to that person to tell their story as truthfully as possible. You can make up all sorts of things when you're dealing with a fictitious character, and give them a backstory and all of that. But when you're dealing with a real person, it's a very different situation. So we did a tremendous amount of research on who these people were, where they came from, what happened to them, how they really lived. Anne's diary itself is just a treasure trove of information about these people. Excuse me. And so we did a lot of research. I'm still doing research.
Well, let me ask you a question. It's casting a show like this. I'm sure you had to really consider who you're going to put in this part.
Oh, sure.
Stories.
Well, you always do.
Yeah.
Anytime you're casting, but this in particular, you do, and it has to be people that are committed, to doing the research and really becoming involved in that world.
Right.
It's just a tremendous responsibility, especially to tell a story like the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It was a genocide, and so to tell that story and to make people, to remind people of that, because let's get real, genocide still exists.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I feel very strongly that stories of genocide need to be told.
Yes, ma'am.
And people need to be reminded that we're still dealing with that sort of thing. Even, the Jews could not believe that a civilized country like Germany could possibly become so barbaric. And yet here we are, 2014. And it's still, that sort of thing still exists around the world today.
So, putting this show together, how many people are in the cast?
Oh gosh, what a question. There are the Von Don family, which is a mother, father, and son. There's the Frank family, which is 4 people, 2 daughters. And then there are the people who come, and then there's the dentist who comes later and needs a hiding place. And then there are the helpers. There were people who worked in Mr. Frank's office building who brought them food. They couldn't have survived if they hadn't brought them food. And the food got harder and harder to obtain. And by the end, they were eating rotten potatoes. It was just, some sustenance, rotten potatoes and bread. That was pretty much all they could get. But there were people who were part of the underground in Holland who brought them food and supplies.
Wow.
Who were also, the men were also picked up and sent to the camps when they were caught.
Wow. So what do you prefer, Ms. Irene? Because you've done so much. Let's talk about, do you prefer acting over directing? I mean, where is your passion? Where is your heart?
My heart was
both of them.
Always in acting. That was what I did.
Yes, ma'am.
But over the years, in part because there just aren't that many parts for old ladies, let's face it.
You're not. Oh, don't say that.
And over the years, my teaching became, I have always taught, even when I was in high school, I taught little ones.
Yes.
So teaching and directing, there's a lot of similarities. And I found when I started directing, I had done a lot of assistant directing, which I found very rewarding because I could do it behind the scenes and not put my name out there. So if it didn't work, well, I wasn't the director.
Okay.
But I'd done a tremendous amount of that. And then I started actually directing and going ahead and putting myself forward as a director. And I found that very rewarding. So I have to say, at this point in my life, while I enjoy being on the stage, I much more enjoy directing. Yeah.
Okay.
I think my age has something to do with it. I'm a little older, a little wiser.
You are just beginning. I mean, take a look behind you there. We got a theater district out there.
Yeah, I would never stop being a part of the theater district, even if I'm, 87 years old and just taking up a seat. I'm gonna be part of that theater district.
Yes, ma'am.
This theater district.
So let's talk about your achievements. I know you was at the Australian last year. And we saw you, but I was scared to go up there and say something. But I won't be able to this year. So let's talk about that. Did you win the Australian nomination for Best Direction?
Yes, I did. Angels in America was a labor of love. We rehearsed that show. It was a 7-hour show if you put both nights together. And I had a brilliant cast. And so I don't take a whole lot of credit for Angels, but I had wonderful designers and a brilliant cast. cast, and I loved doing that show quite a bit.
How many wins did that show get?
Oh, it got a lot. It got Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Lighting, Best Set. It was, we were real proud of how it. And Best Show.
Yeah, Best Show, yes. Oh, wow, that is just so wonderful. Irene, you've done so much. What is it that you are most proud of out of your career so far here?
I guess I would have to say Angels.
You think Angels?
Yeah, because I mean, as an actress, August in Osage County was one of my favorite things that I had ever done. But that's because it's all, I'm giving you recent things. Lion in Winter, playing Eleanor in Lion in Winter was also one of my favorite things. It just, it depends on where I am. I may end up saying after Anne Frank, well, that was one of my favorite things. But I would have to say directorially and really as an event, because it was more of an event. Angels in America was more of an event than it was a show.
Yeah.
The themes were just world themes, and the actors, they were ordinary people who were put into extraordinary circumstances, and I just found that to be an extraordinarily rewarding show. So.
And you also you teach on the side too, don't you?
I do. I have not had time because my schedule's so crazy. I haven't had time to teach in. I used to teach, and that was where I met Delvin. I used to teach for Playhouse On The Square in terms of their acting classes where you have a group. But I just didn't have the time, and to say, okay, I can be here at 6 o'clock every Monday.
Right.
So I started working privately, and I find that very rewarding because in an hour you can get so much out of an actor, and you can collaborate with them and get so much for them. So I've really enjoyed teaching private classes.
And one of my church members went through your classes, Willis, and he just talked about you all the time. And then when they had that showcase over there at the circuit, I think that was really wonderful. It was good to see that you got that out of them. It's good to see that you got that out of every actor that you work with. And I know some of the girls over at Haddon Theater were just so excited that you did Still Ignore Yourself.
Oh, that was so much fun. They were such terrific sports, and they really worked hard, and it was a lot of fun. It was very rewarding.
So what is it that you haven't done that you want to do in theater? What is it?
Well, next year I'll be directing a Chekhov, which is kind of daunting. It's my first Chekhov, and we all sort of revere Chekhov, along with Shakespeare as being, right up there. And, of course, I revere Tony Kushner, too. So, but I will be doing that. In terms of what I haven't done that I want to do, I just want to keep making good theater.
Yes.
And so I don't have a specific show or a specific idea, except for what we talked about earlier. I want to just reach a little closer to perfection.
Yes. How do we achieve perfection?
We don't. And that's the thing. We'll never get there. But that doesn't keep you from striving for it. Because there are things that are, as you know, there are things that we do that are more perfect than others. And you know the feeling, And when you get close, it's such a rewarding experience that you just keep going for it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you, Miss Irene.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, MaryAnn.
Thank you. To me today. Why don't you tell our audience about the Diary of Anne Frank and when? Because I kept listening.
We're opening the Diary of Anne Frank on March 14th. We will be running that through March 30th. So if you think you have a month to see it, which is usually what you have for a Playhouse show, you don't. We're only running 3 weeks. So get your tickets as soon as possible. And I have to tell you that Diary of Anne Frank is sponsored by Facing History and Ourselves. And they have a whole curriculum on Anne Frank and what she went through. And I have had the pleasure of meeting with Rachel Shankman, and she had parents who were survivors of the Holocaust, and so she has been tremendously helpful to us in getting to the meat of the matter and really understanding what these people went through.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing us that story. Now, what are you doing next? I know you're doing.
I'm back on stage.
Back to take the stage again.
I'm doing The Lions, which will be at Circuit Theater across the street, and that's going to be an interesting show as well.
Okay, but thank you again. On behalf of Black Butterfly Media, we really appreciate you being here, and thank you for tuning in. Please go on Facebook and like us on Facebook, Black Butterfly Media, Memphis Actors Talking About, and please subscribe to Black Butterfly Media because our goal is to give you some of the best in Memphis theater. We are excited about Memphis theater. We're excited about Miss Irene Crist. Y'all can tell I'm a little bit nervous, but hey, I can't be perfect, right?
That's right.